Welcome to the definitive UFO news show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. What's going on here on a Friday night? It's going to be fantastic. Friday evening, right? We don't really have these shows this early on a Friday, but guess what? We're going to do it today. We're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to have some fun. As you all know, it's huge news right now within the UFO community. Jeremy Corbell dropped a bomb and it's still something that's getting vetted out. That's why I don't want to go. We're gonna go kind of deep into it, but I still prefer to have the video itself go through the paces. But I think some of the things, the takeaways that I think most people took immediately off the top was that the video that was released kind of reminded everybody of a film that came out a few years ago, little film called Nope. And the resemblance is uncanny, and it has to ask the question: Is this something that is this something that maybe he received some information on? Maybe he saw this video. I don't know. It's definitely something you have to think about. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and talk about that, and then the obvious other things out there. Now, when we talk about some of the things as far as UFOs in the clouds, right? First thing I think of is UFO shaped clouds, which often get misreported as UFOs. We'll talk about all that as well as we go ahead and get ready to get into the show. Let me go ahead and say what's up to the people who have shown up so far. And I know we started a little late today. And this is the thing. These shows, I think I underestimate what it takes to go into these because it's a one-man show here at the Social Dig, and all prep work, everything is done by me. And I'm like, okay, let's set this deadline, and I have to push it back because I'm, what do you call that? I'm a perfectionist, right? So got to make sure everything is in line and ready to go. And I think we're ready to go right now. So let me talk to little Cam 51 out there because he's present, and I appreciate little Cam 51 coming on in to check out the show tonight. Also, Tony D, wow, I could have the bronze medal here. Actually, you would be getting the silver tonight if we were doing medals. And why not? Let's do medals. Why not? Lil Cam 51 with the gold, Tony D with the silver, and then Maggie M10 with the bronze here tonight. Do appreciate you all coming on in. Miss Catherine Jones is out there. Hi, Miss Catherine. Glad to see you here. Also, Deb from Sacramento. She's Deborah Rooney, the Sacramento treat in the house. Okay. And I'm from Sacramento, so shout out to Deb from Sacramento out there in the crowd. We got Operation Shutdown in the building saying, hello, Mr. Rob G. Looking forward to the show. As I'm looking forward to doing this show here today, it should be a fun one. We should have some fun, kind of, not too serious, right? We have our serious moments, and then we have our let's kick back and have some fun. Tonight will be one of those nights. Let's see, who else do we have? We have Polly Rodderman. Shout out to you, and I just keeps blowing my mind how you're able to join us with all this going on out there where you're located out in Israel. So shout out to Polly Rodderman. Thanks for showing love and coming on in with other pressing things that you could be attending to. So do appreciate you coming on in. And as well, any lurkers out there that may be coming in and watch the show, and people that come in on Team Replay. Love y'all, and I really do appreciate your support here of what we do. Let me go ahead and jump on in, bring our slides up here. We do something real quick here. So I don't let the cat fully out the bag yet. Let me see. All right, let's go ahead and jump on into our slides here for today. So, UFO movies aren't imitating life, right? We had the new release from Jeremy Corbell. We're going to go ahead and actually start the show off right after this with that video, which hopefully you've all seen by now. But let me go ahead and give out the number here for the Social Dig. You can call this number. Make sure you write this down. Put it in your contact list. 856-843-3444. That's 856 the dig. If you're outside the United States, dial 001 first, then 856-843-3444 or 001-856 the dig. You can call, just say hello. I always say that. It's a nice thing to do. We'd appreciate it. It's cool. And I may call you back. You never know. So definitely lock that in your phone. Also, want to go ahead and thank our members. We do have memberships available right here. You could become a social soldier today by clicking the link in the description. And what it does is it actually goes to help the show, make sure we put on the best show possible to keep elevating, raising the bar, quality wise, content wise, research wise. As once again, this is a one man show. And I definitely appreciate all support that comes to the show. So I definitely want to shout out the members that we have here so far. Updated list, we have T-Bone, the Beekeeper, D. Nunley, Maggie M10, Flat 6, Miss Catherine Jones. We also have Leanne Bridges, we have Polly Rotterman. We have Lil Cam 51, Frankie B, Fast Timmy, Deb from Sacramento, Race Fan with the gold. We have Magneticus, Attractus, Woo Riders DG, Area 51, and Tamoth, man, thank you so much for your support of the show and being members. Anyone can become a member at any time. It just helps the show once again. And I do also thank everyone that just comes in to watch, right? Because that is also considered support, and we do appreciate it. So, getting ready to get into this UFOs, art imitating life. Jordan Peele released the movie Nope, and you can. The first thing that popped in my mind, and I know most people in this community have seen the movie, so it had to do the same thing for you. I think it was the first thing that clicked in a lot of people's minds, and it just makes you wonder. It's too similar to for Jordan Peele not to have seen the video. It would blow my mind. It would totally surprise me if Jordan Peele did not see this video or get wind of it or something. So if you're out there, somebody knows Jordan Peele, if Jordan Peele happens to find this on YouTube somewhere, hit us up and let us know if this was the inspiration. I'm sure you're getting that question from everybody around you at this time, and it would be cool to know because we know of other instances where the UFO community or someone on the side kind of tapped in with movie directors to kind of make sure that what was presented on screen lined up with authentic instances and cases, right? So, with that being said, there are some things out there, and actually, I did want to go ahead and start with the just the video, the thing that made us even think about doing this show. It'd be the Jeremy Corbell newly released video. And before I do it, once again, I talked about this the other day, but it's strategic. I feel like it's strategic, and I've said this before when he's done releases because it seems like whenever whoever this is that's holding the secrets back, whoever's sitting in that back room deciding that they're not going to release these secrets or let us know that the alien presence is here, it appears that they Corbell and Knapp have like an arsenal of get back. I'll call it get back, right? Just videos to drop to kind of blow up the world and really make you forget about, in this last case, the hit piece from the Wall Street Journal, essentially saying that this was all psyop, essentially, from the government from the start, which we know is garbage. But I do appreciate Jeremy Corbell dropping the bombs, man. And you can always count on him to do that. A lot of people say bad things about the guy, but you can definitely agree. I know you have to because you follow this just like I do, that there always tends to be a bomb that drops right after some disinformation. And that's how it should go, not the other way around. They tried it before where we dropped the bomb and then they tried to hit the disinformation right after that, right? We kind of flipped the tables on them, and it's now in the cycle where they put out disinformation, we drop bombs to kind of bring it back. And I just love it because it makes sure that we don't take the 2 or 3 steps backward that we would normally have taken had we not had something come out or release that kind of shook the pavement, right? So, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the video that Corbell put out. It gave me shivers when I saw it because immediately, and I know it did for a lot of people, I'm thinking, nope, too similar, but we'll go ahead and take a look right now and check that video out. You know, when he first played it, I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, I can't see anything. I don't know what we're supposed to see here. Then they get into video two where they put it under a different filter here, and then you're able to actually see. And I'm like, okay, now we're talking. There it is, right there. Beautiful. This is the enhanced version. Nice and beautiful, just floating through the clouds, trying not to be detected. Debunkers, step in. Tell us what that is. What is that? What is that? Taken from military assets from above, from somewhere above. We don't know if it was satellite. We don't know if it was some high altitude plane. Maybe the high altitude government triangle plane, right? That everybody is starting to feel like the government has. Maybe that's what took the image. However, we're waiting to see. They had Corbell has stated that the chain of custody shows that this has definitely come from and through the government. So obviously, we still need to wait. I don't really like to jump all in because you find out a week later, someone debunks it and says it's something else. So that's why I don't. We're gonna have fun with it tonight, and then as we get more information, we'll retackle this and kind of get into some of the more serious stuff. But with that being said, when we think about UFOs and clouds, the first thing that I think of, when especially pertaining to UFOs, ends up being these lenticular UFO shaped clouds that they have out there, and they're compelling. I've seen some of these in person myself, and they take me back as well. Just what we're looking at here. So I think it's a good place to start because I want to make it also differentiation and kind of separate to some of those who may not be super well versed in the subject that these lenticular UFO shaped clouds are not the same thing as what has been released in this video. Let's just start there for the people who are new to the subject. And this is what a lenticular cloud looks like. If you've ever seen one of these and it's just epic and you're just like, nah, there's a UFO sitting in the middle of there. There has to be. It's too crazy, right? It's too crazy shape of a cloud. How would I've seen clouds. This is what most people would say. I've seen many types of clouds. This one is just so strange. There has to be a UFO inside of there. What else would it be? Let me go ahead and bring this back up full screen for everybody. And I will admit, it's definitely a weird shaped cloud. It takes me back when I look at an image like this. I do have a couple that are really compelling that I want to look at. These are ones that okay, this is actually this is going to be an explanation of what lenticular clouds are, and I think it's kind of responsible that we actually kind of go over that, so just for educational purposes. So lenticular clouds, formerly known as altocumulus standing lenticularis, are lens-shaped clouds that typically form at high altitudes, usually perpendicular to the direction of the wind flow. They often resemble a stack of pancakes or flying saucers and are most commonly seen near mountain ranges or areas with significant topographical features. These clouds form when stable, moist air flows over a mountain or other obstruction, creating a series of oscillating waves. If the temperature at the crest of these waves drops to the dew point, moisture in the air condenses, forming clouds. As the air descends again, it warms and the cloud evaporates, giving lenticular clouds their distinctive, well defined shape. Lenticular clouds are often mistaken for UFOs due to their smooth saucer like appearance. They can be an indicator of strong turbulence, making them significant for aviation enthusiasts and pilots. And so, with that being said, apparently pilots won't fly through these things. They will stay far away from these things, and the reasoning that they give is because of high turbulence, just unpredictable high turbulence that they may experience, which is not good when you're super high up there in the air in a plane uh, with no parachute, right? So you kind of want to stay away from those. But this is a graphic that is supposed to kind of show you how they are formed. And I know, let's see here, we're able to get this one up a little more. So what this one says, lenticular clouds are an unusual, typical type of cloud that forms from mountain waves of air. Okay. Let's see. Can you fly through these? Pilots typically avoid flying through the clouds because they may experience severe turbulence. How long do the clouds last? Lenticular clouds can last for hours after forming. They'll remain in the same spot before steadily disappearing. And I think that's one of the other reasons why people get these confused with UFO, or even besides the shape of them, which is obviously pretty odd, it's just the fact that these clouds, even in high winds, while other clouds around them are moving with the wind, these clouds seem to stay still in one spot. So you'll have a whole group of clouds that may pass, and these lenticular clouds will stay right where they're at. And so people are like, "Oh no, that's a hovering UFO. It's just using a cloud for camouflage." Now, I couldn't be in a boat with you that may say that maybe some of these clouds uh, potentially may hold something inside of them, but there's definitely a scientific explanation for them. Is really what I want to put out there. So I don't want people to just feel like when you see something like that, it's got to be a UFO. But then maybe sometimes it is. You just never know. And I'll tell a story here in Bakersfield where I'm at. One day, I don't remember what season it was, but I can tell you that we have a semicircle around Bakersfield that gives you the mountain ranges, right? And then off to the west is kind of open for a good distance. And I'm getting off the freeway coming home, and as I'm getting off the freeway, I see one cloud, like a little puff, no other clouds around, just one puff sitting in the middle of the sky, no other clouds in sight. And I made sure to look because I'm like, that's weird. Why is that just sitting there like that? And I'm looking around. There is no other clouds anywhere, just this one cloud. And as I'm getting off the freeway, I'm like, okay, let me go somewhere where I could park. And I want to film this thing. And by the time I get somewhere to park, that cloud is gone. So is it just atmospheric anomaly? Likely, very likely, but it was still weird, and I could see how some people could be fooled by this. I don't blame you at all. So, with that being said, I did have a few other pretty epic shots of these lenticular clouds. So this one's so. Let me go ahead and bring this back up full screen. What you can understand, right? But not, I think this is like UFO 101, where it's like, okay, you can't be fooled by something like this, because if you're preaching to the choir about this, or standing on a podium preaching to the world saying, hey, these clouds are UFOs, then obviously credibility is down the drain, because there is atmospheric phenomena that we know that shape these. This one's pretty epic. There's going to be people even still after we're talking about this is going to say this is a UFO. Now, maybe not the last one, but this one, no, that's a UFO. I can tell, right? We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. Um, but with that being said, it's definitely different than what is being depicted in this video, just to make sure, because people are going to hear UFOs, clouds, they're going to think lenticular clouds or UFO shaped clouds. Not the same thing at all. And I think we have a couple more shots of this here. And actually, I do have a video that I wanted to show. Let's see. These are stills, so I do have a video. Let me go ahead and bring it into the stream here. All right, let's take a look at this. This is the time. This is a time lapse photo. This or video rather. This shows how these clouds are formed. For those that still may be on the hook, like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, well, this is how they form. This is time lapse. You can see right there in the middle of your screen how these clouds form, and they don't move. Look at all the other clouds passing by. These appear to be stationary. I'll take that back just so you can see this again. It's actually pretty awesome. Just lets you know nature is actually awesome, and there's some things. That's why people say some of these things could be atmospheric. There are a lot of weird things that we're just figuring out about our atmosphere, and you would not think the clouds could just sit there while the wind is blowing, but you're seeing that happen right here. So that, and also there is, while we're on lenticular clouds, I did want to show you one other thing here. All right, this one here. Make sure this is full screen. All right, this is like a reaction. Someone recorded this live, which is another thing. Someone, you know, decided to pull their phone out because they thought, "Hey, this is weird. Let me film this, and then we'll figure it out later." Right? Which is the thing that everyone should be doing when it comes to trying to capture data, as we always talk about. But this is what they ended up capturing, and ends up just being a lenticular cloud. But still, if you saw this, what would you think?
What the is that? Like, that is the craziest I've ever seen in my life, bro. It's like, it's so cool. What is that? What the is that? Like, that is the craziest I've ever seen in my life, bro. It's like, it's so cool. What is that?
I'll take that back. I wonder why you can't hear the volume.
What is that? Like, that is the craziest I've ever seen in my life, bro.
I really would like for you to hear the reaction from these
What is that?
here.
What the is that? Like, that is the craziest I've ever seen in my life, bro. It's like, it's so cool.
Pretty much they're like, oh, F, what is that?
What the is that?
And just look at that. That looks like a UFO sticking out of the clouds, but it isn't. It's a lenticular cloud.
Like, that is the craziest I've ever seen in my life, bro. It's like, it's so cool. What is that? What the is that?
Very, very compelling.
Like, that is the craziest I've ever seen in my life,
I've
bro.
seen these things in person. They blow you away. There's even more elaborate lenticular clouds than these, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen these. They're not super rare. If you live by the mountains, I'm sure you've seen one of these before. So we had that, and let me make sure here. Oh, okay, and this is what happened with this actually. So with this particular lenticular cloud, this was posted on July 15th of 2022. And just so happened during this time is when the promotions were out for the movie Nope. And immediately the people obviously, trying to tie this into Nope and says, oh my God, this is potentially something very strange. Let me see. I think I have. Okay, yeah. So let me go ahead and actually bring this up because I do have some more information on this. All right. This is still of that same thing. One of them you can see zoomed in. Jordan Peele actually replied to this post. And he said, that one's not mine, right? Said, that one's not mine. It's a week before the movie Nope came out. And he did reply to that, which I think was awesome. And let me bring this up, zoomed in. And then I'll go ahead and read to you here the article behind this. People were terrified after spotting huge UFO hovering in the sky. TikToker Nisha Higgins went viral for posting the clip of the pretty darn realistic looking disc in the sky. Social media was left in shock after a TikToker spotted a massive UFO hovering in the sky. The video was shared by TikToker Nisha Higgins of what looks like a flying saucer in the sky among the clouds. Naturally, the video went viral. What the F is that? The TikToker asked in the video, which they shared. Viewers were also freaking out. One person wrote, "Y'all can say it's real or not, clouds, etc. But when those UFOs really start showing up, it's finally over." Crying face emoji. They coming closer and closer, right? So having fun with it. That sounds fun. Another person said, "Stop. This is not cool." Another person said, "Well, ish, it's finally happening." And another person said, jokingly tagging the video to Jordan Peele, saying, "Jordan Peele's marketing is always top tier. Hashtag Nope Movie." And for those unaware, she's referencing Jordan Peele's 2022 horror film Nope. The acclaimed film stars Keke Palmer, Stephen Yeun, with the synopsis reading: caretakers at a California horse ranch encounter a mysterious force that affects human and animal behavior. The director also brilliantly responded to the viral TikTok and confirmed he had nothing to do with it. "That one's not mine," Z wrote. IMAX got involved with the fun too, tweeting, "We told them to come down to Earth next Friday, not this Friday." Because literally, this is posted 1 week before the release of Nope in theaters, which we know went on to do big numbers. I think like 140 million box office, some crazy numbers. And yeah, so lenticular clouds. So I wanted to cover that. It actually tied into Nope, which I thought was pretty cool. But for the newcomers, not anything to do with the video that was just released by the military, not lenticular clouds, not UFO shaped clouds. We're actually talking about a UFO in the clouds, which appears to be moving in a way where it is seeming to be taking some sort of cover, right? Is what it looks like. And let me see here. Want to go ahead and kind of do a side by side comparison with this. This is the Corbell video on the left, the still image, and then you have the Nope movie poster on the right. Now, you can't, can you say there was inspiration? Like, if just thinking about this and thinking about this video has been in existence since 2020, during the time the movie would have been filmed or written, the writing would have been taking place. Some people think that the movie Nope is based off of lenticular clouds in general, and then the idea that UFOs might be hiding in lenticular clouds. But when you see a video like this, the video Corbell just released, you got to ask yourself, coincidence or not? Coincidence or inside information? Did someone leak this video or show this video to to Jordan Peele, therefore kind of driving the direction of what he was going to do with the movie? Because as I talked about before, it was so off base that this was the direction that he was going to go. Because with the movie, you're thinking, especially with the previews, the way the previews laid out, you're thinking physical craft, typical UFO saucer shaped craft, aliens inside piloting the craft. They're going to land at some point. The previews show what appears to be extraterrestrials walking around in the barn scene, right? And when you see the movie, turns out it's not the case at all. Not the case at all. And actually, it goes down an interesting lane that I definitely want to talk about here. But before I do that, I think there's even a more famous movie that all of us know. that kind of got it right too. And that's my thing. It's like when you have movies that get it so right, not just science fiction and then something kind of mimicking science fiction, but when you get something as right as what you're looking at here, that's just no coincidence. It can't be. I wish Jordan Peele would be able to chime in on something like this, an interview somewhere to kind of confirm or disprove what we're looking at here. Too close. It's too close. Um, it's too close. But I will tell you one other example of this, as we all know, as we look back, was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If I can get that slide to come up here. Okay. Yeah. Steven Spielberg, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Now, I'll be truthful. I think I remember seeing this years and years, like 20, 25 years ago, catching on TV. Wasn't really technically into the subject in that fashion. But then I rewatched it because I have this segment that I do on the show on Social Dig, which is science fiction to science fact, movie edition. And essentially what it is it's for people who, if you watched a movie like Close Encounters of the Third Kind when it first came out, and it was a great movie, right? And then now, okay, you have the realization that these UFOs are authentic. They're here. They're real. They're contacting us. There's orbs. There's all sorts of other things. Then when you go back to watch the movie, then you're looking at it through a different lens now. It's like, whoa, okay. They actually depicted everything that we're still experiencing today. As old as the movie is, as old as the special effects are, it's still authentic to the experience. It blows me away every time I watch it at this point to see how right they got it, right? And you had people wondering, the grays, the orbs, the radiation burns on the face, all sorts of different aspects of that movie just ended up, hitting it on the head. And you have to ask yourself with that, who told Steven Spielberg what to write or how to go with the movie, right? It was a work of science fiction essentially when he put it out, but there was real UFO people involved with that. Period, had to be. We know Jacques Vallée was portrayed in the movie as one of the scientists, and I was thinking, okay, Jacques Vallée, that would definitely be a person who would have had some input, or at least, if Steven Spielberg was listening to the right people, he'd be one that you listen to and would make sense on why a lot of these things were kind of right on. Now, also, obviously, the main person, as we go here and kind of go through the history of this, with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Steven Spielberg served as a director, writer, and producer of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, released in 1977. For the film, he consulted with several experts to ensure authenticity, especially in relation to the UFO phenomenon and government protocols, notably Dr. J. Allen Hynek. So I guess J. Allen Hynek, obviously being connected to Project Blue Book and all of the different encounters and experiences that he would have had access to or knowledge of course. That's why the movie is so authentic and why it's able to stand the test of time and still get it right today. I think pretty much almost every part of the phenomena, the UFO phenomena, is covered in that movie, which is bonkers. So it leads you to, okay, Nope is out, right? So it's like, as I told this story before, when I went to see the movie, once again, I'm expecting nuts and bolts, all that stuff. When it wasn't that, I'm sitting in the theater when the credits close, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know how to take it. I don't know. It wasn't what I expected. It was a whole different angle that I really hadn't considered. And so I'm like, wow, let me think about this, because you have a big budget for the film. You could have done probably successful nuts and bolts movie, but you chose to take this route of a living craft, a craft that's alive, that is the alien, and not necessarily alien pilots, right? And I'm like, why would you take a risk like that, especially with the UFO public that is expecting something totally different and isn't expecting this at all. Like this isn't even part of many conversations. UFOs being the actual alien and being things, being a living entity. But as I said before, my own experience where I've filmed 47 UFOs, I won't show that today. It's in the archive. You can go check it out. But with my UFOs, they appeared to be alive, right? I saw them with my physical eye and saw that they were physical, metallic, sort of oblong shaped objects, white objects with these black pipe like things sticking out. And they were flowing and moving in a weird lifelike sort of way, right? And that was something that always stuck with me with my sighting. So by the time I'm sitting there thinking about this at the end of the movie, I get up, I start walking to the car, and I'm thinking about my sighting. I'm like, man, why would he make this choice? And then by the time I get to the car, it hits me. It's like, dude, that was actually brilliant because my sighting depicted something that seemed to be alive, but seemed to also be mechanical. And okay, that would explain why he would go that route. And then it was like, okay, this is brilliant. This is actually maybe a part of the phenomenon that we haven't explored yet that still is a true fact based on my experience. And then, as you will find out, others' experiences too. Other people talk about, for whatever reason, the UFOs they have seen and experienced being or exhibiting lifelike behaviors. And you have to ask yourself, is that a thing? And more you talk to people, the more and more you find out that it is. So for him, it was more likely that someone told Jordan Peele this than him taking the gamble. So once again, we have a movie producer who is tapped in with someone in the UFO community. And as far as we know, like the who has really stepped out on the main stage recently and talked about UFOs being alive? I think there's like one or two people. It's been in a couple of conversations, and you have to wonder who's in Jordan Peele's corner when it comes to deciding to go with those objectives. And it could still be Jacques Vallée who's still kicking strong in the game and still researching and out there speaking. Jalen Hynek could have also, tied in with Jordan Peele the same way he tied in with Steven Spielberg. And who knows who else? Maybe that'll come out one day down the line. But I just think it's more in the coincidence that he decided to take that path on the extraterrestrial experience. Now, obviously, some of the epic scenes from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I would recommend if you haven't seen this movie, you gotta go see it. Period. Or if you haven't seen it in a really long time, if it's been more than 10 years, watch it again, and then just see how everything still lines up. Look at the movie, and then go look at the Arrow report, or go look at the even more recently the Skywatcher classification list, and then you'll kind of see some things align, which is pretty crazy, right? So let me see here. Let me see here. So once again, epic scene from this movie here. Definitely, there's someone in the background giving direction or information on that. And this is basically what we just talked about. Steven Spielberg. Actually, I didn't know. Well, I guess I did. I forgot this, but as I was doing research on it, I saw he in an interview maybe 2 years ago. He talked about he's actually never seen a UFO. So that definitely means that he leaned 100% on the information that he was being given and trusted in the people that were consulting him on the movie, which we know were the legends, J. Allen Hynek and Jacques Vallée, legends of this of the in this within this community. So that kind of validates that. then it kind of just leads into where we're at now. And actually, let's see, I had that. I want to make sure. I know I queued up a couple of other things here. This was another thing that kind of tied into the living UFO aspect. There was a shuttle mission. Sure, everybody remembers this. I don't remember which shuttle mission it was, but it was the one with the tether that ended up getting lost from the shuttle. And they filmed it, and it was like a 12-mile long tether. And it looked like maybe it was 6 inches on the screen because it was so far out. And then you saw all these like plasma sort of objects moving around it, which NASA ended up trying to say was like ice particles and debris. But you could tell that these things were intelligently moving. And the reason why that is significant is because there are some people that theorize that, especially with like the orbs that we see that seem to be intelligent, that seem to be like balls of plasma, that in our upper atmosphere there's potentially another life source, right? You hearing me right? Life source, maybe based on plasma that lives in the upper atmosphere and maybe like lower space, right? Which is, if you remember the shuttle mission STS-75, the one where you see the object seems to be like a blinking or glowing object come across Earth, and it kind of darts back out the way before some projectile comes from the surface of Earth. Same thing. So people are theorizing that there is a whole nother source of life in the upper atmosphere in space. And this actually depicts that. If you've never seen the shuttle video with the tether, this is that video. And it's always intriguing, right? All those little individual things that are moving around. NASA tries to say those that's debris or that is ice, but you'll see them kind of like doing this, pulsating, and in some cases moving on their own. And then the point being made that that tether is 13 miles long, so a lot of the ones that are closer to the tether have to be huge. Like, look at that one on the far right, blinking. NASA says no, it's tumbling ice. But then you'll see these things move or go in one direction and then shift to another direction. And then the size of them. So imagine that what you're seeing here are life, some sort of life forms. All those different individual small things are life forms. And it has been theorized that these things, whatever these things are based off of, I've heard plasma, that they live in the upper atmosphere the same way, like because we have moisture in the upper atmosphere and then we have moisture in the oceans, they essentially were like calling it an ocean in the sky, essentially, which is could be something, right? So when we talk about going down the path of, doing it, thinking about doing a UFO movie and then saying not only is it not going to be a nuts and bolts spaceship, but it's going to actually be something that's alive and that lives and roams in the upper atmosphere and kind of preys on whatever it preys on, right? And this could essentially be where some of that data comes from, because there are a lot of people that are theorizing that these objects, which are seen in many other cases, this was one of the more prevalent ones, but a lot of the shuttle missions depict these objects and they're pulsating, they seem to be moving, they seem to be alive, right? And so maybe that's where they're getting that from. Very possible. I don't know. What do you guys think? David Nuremberg, wasn't the tether that was being dragged for reachers on gathering new energy. I'm not sure what it was for. I just know they lost it. It detached from the shuttle and began to drift off. And the fact that you were able to see it in this frame that way, the entire tether from end to end, meant that it was like 100 miles out, somewhere really far away, for you to be able to catch the entire tether in a frame. And so the whole idea, the whole thought process was, because it was so far away and you're looking at a 13-mile tether, then you can kind of determine how big the objects floating around it are, because NASA was trying to write it off as, these are just kind of ice particles close to the camera, while other people are like, no, those are clearly out near the tether. And if they're near the tether, then they have to be huge. They have to be huge. And there's so many of them. This is the argument that was being made. And there could be definitely something to that. You have to keep your mind open on that. Exactly. Someone says some of those footage remind me of petri dishes. Not only that, think of what do you call the bioluminescent things in the ocean? Some of the things that flicker and self illuminate, right? That's what I see when I see that self illuminating sort of entities or objects. And the ones in the water are weird. Just imagine those same bioluminescent objects, lighter than air, or however they would be able to exist in the upper atmosphere, but being the same thing. And there's been recently, I think James Webb Telescope had actually detected in the upper atmospheres of some distant planet signs of life in the upper atmosphere of a distant planet. So there's things that point to maybe there are things that can exist and live in the upper atmosphere of planets. Now, how and where the science goes to kind of determine that, I couldn't tell you, but that's as far as some scientists have theorized. So, which would tie into why someone would make a movie about something coming from the sky that's alive, that potentially would be something that we don't understand, or maybe something that we look at as a UFO. Try to think of any other reason why Jordan Peele would choose to make his UFO alive and not be a nuts and bolts UFO piloted by extraterrestrial. That'd be the easy way to go. So to go this way shows that that he had to have some information, and then it lines up with other information that's already out there, with other theories that people have theorized, and an unreleased video that potentially, if you're a movie director, Jeremy Corbell had the video for 2 years. I guess he's a movie director. He's a documentary filmmaker, but someone on the level of a Jordan Peele, it wouldn't be out the realm of possibility for a person like that to get access to a video like this. That's all I'm saying, because it's too identical to not for that not to be the case. So with that being said, I did have, let me see here. So we did look at that, and I did want to put to side by side the Corbell released video and then some footage from the movie Note, so we could kind of further look into what we're talking about here. Corbell video from 2020, obviously. Then you're going to see some footage from the movie Note. This will kind of loop a couple times, and we can go ahead and talk about it as we look at it. But the same sort of fluid motion, right? That's the other thing that gets me. It's cut and paste. This is still the Corbell video. You see the fluid motion, the turns, and all that, as you'll see again here. And then the movie Note. This one more lines up with it for me. Watch as you see it move through the clouds here. So very, very similar. And obviously the note isn't well lit because it's compressed and all that. But if you watch it 4K, if you have the movie, go and watch that particular scene and then compare it to this video right here, which is the Corbell military release video from 2020. Almost identical in motion, in the visual, uh, the coloration, right? The black and white clouds, they essentially matched all these things in the movie Note, which I think can't be coincidence. It can't be. Someone has to be directing Jordan Peele on this. They have to be. And you just got to ask yourself who that is. Is it Jacques Vallée? Is it Lou Elizondo? Will we find out now? David Grush or someone that just came out recently. You know, some of these newer names might be one of the ones that kind of stepped in to do that. I think you can walk away from that saying someone definitely has. All right. Now, with that being said, I know I had a couple other, let me see, I think I got some stills. All right, let me bring that off here. All right, it's just some more slides, right? Very circular. This could be spherical, but Jeremy Corbell says that the military release says that this was described as a disc, which he's standing on. So, and UAP, which is more one of the more important things, so that they've already kind of looked at this, determined that it's unidentified aerial phenomena to start with, and then secondly, that this is of a disc shape, and so it would appear that we're looking directly down on top of it. And like I said, just too much of it lines up with what they had done in Nope. Now, one of the other things that was out there, and this didn't come out until after Nope, but still kind of goes towards the why would he go this direction? Because there was others. If you remember, this guy right here, Stephen Digna Jr., who was testified at the Disclosure Project 2.0, Stephen Greer's event. And this was back on June, it says 13, but I think it was 12, 2023. Obviously, almost a year after Nope came out. But he did go up and testify about an experience that he had prior to Nope coming out, where he encountered him and his wife on a dark road near the base he was working at, encountered an extraterrestrial craft kind of floating right above the road. They kind of stopped, pulled off, got out the car, went over to this craft. You know, he said he touched it. He said he rubbed his hand up it, and he rubbed his hand back down it, and it was kind of rough. Yeah, I think he described it like shark skin or a cat's tongue. But he also went a little further to say that it essentially felt like it was alive. Now, if that doesn't line up as well with the whole way that Jordan Peele went with, now they didn't say that was the texture of the UFO in his film, but you would have to think, you know, the thing kind of looks like a manta ray, right, or something along those lines. So you would imagine if it was depicting something like that, that the skin may have that sort of texture to it. So it's just, you know, this story, normally on the face of it, if there's not a Nope movie out there, then I think Stephen Digna Jr. his testimony doesn't get taken seriously at all. He's talking about out of the blue, out of the left field, a UFO that was alive, essentially. He said it purred when he petted it, when he rubbed his hand against it. It was rough like a cat's tongue or like shark skin. It kind of reacted to what he was doing as if this entire ship was alive. I don't know what to make of that, right? All I can do is tie that back to my own experience where the objects I filmed also seemed alive. And I've said that from day one, from the moment I filmed them, I said that exact thing. And the more that people are stepping out there saying that they think these things are alive, it made me think it for me what it did was it ties me to the Lou Elizondo somber statement. It ties me directly to that because it's like it makes me wonder, have they realized that this is actually something else? Like this is, some of it may be nuts and bolts, but some of it may be these weird things that are alive in the upper atmosphere, right? And if that's the case, that would be pretty somber, right? If anything had to do with what was depicted in the movie, no, that would be a bad day for anyone, right? So you have to think about it because there's definitely other things that point to what was being shown in the movie as also being fact. So I thought that was really compelling and thought it was something we should add to that conversation because I don't know if anyone else after you saw the movie, if you even thought about it anymore, if you even tried to kind of go down the road of why he would do that. But I did, and it's kind of scary. It gets kind of scary if there's validity to the realization that some of these things that are up there are actually alive. And I have reason to believe that for whatever reason they take on lifelike ability, and I don't know why. I still can't wrap my mind around it. My objects were not flesh and blood things. They were metallic. They were shining in off the sunlight was shining off these things, but they were moving as if they were alive. Just make that make sense for me. I have no clue. But once again, this is the tether. These are the plasma orbs up there. There's a theory that life, possibly plasma, may thrive and roam Earth's upper atmosphere like an ocean in the sky. Pretty scary to think. Pretty scary to think. Because think of outer space then. Do those things extend into outer space? Like is outer space essentially like a ocean essentially, and you have these weird life forms, you know what I mean, that are able to exist out there, and it's not just empty like most people think, because then it would make sense on why things are able to just come here all the time. That solves the faster than light travel. That solves that if there are things that exist in upper atmosphere of planets and then into outer space as well. That means they're always there. They're always up there, and would lean more credence and credibility into the movie Nope. And so that's what I mean. Like I'm just wanting to know like who's advising Jordan Peele, because that person might be the person that we need to be listening to on this subject, or at least hearing their perspective. And maybe we just until that person is named or we figure out who that is, maybe we have to get our information vicariously through Jordan Peele films, right? I would love to sit down and chat with that guy just to ask him. Oh my god. Hopefully someone does soon and kind of takes that off my plate, but it was something I thought about, right? When Corbell released this video, and like I said, I don't want to go into the validity of it. I want to make sure that we at least talk about what makes sense about it and why it makes sense, and then going to who's telling them the information, and I think that's a good place to start. We will allow this video to kind of sit out there, get vetted, go through the processes to see if it can be debunked at all. If it can't, I think that brings it more home as far as the things we talked about today and the potential possibility that we might be seeing, the phenomena, something new added to the phenomena, or maybe even a recalibrate, because you can't discount the nuts and bolts part of this. People have seen things land and seen things get out, physical things. People have talked about being aboard some of these craft and physical objects, right? So maybe there's a little bit of both going on up there. And maybe that's the thing that's flipping everybody out. And if I'm governments and I know part of these things are alive, they're literally alive and up there, yeah, yeah, I wouldn't talk to anybody about that. I wouldn't release it. I wouldn't talk to the public. And you have to just ask yourself. So, not necessarily going down that path, but I'm saying there is plausible evidence to at least think about the fact that maybe a part of this is, as strange as it sounds, something that's alive. Now, the good news with all this is, and I guess this is the question we end up posing at the end, who's been consulting Spielberg and Peele on UFO data? I would like to know. Hopefully, we get to find out. But, and we did list these people, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who's passed away, Jacques Vallée, who's still here with us and maybe still giving data. But good news is Steven Spielberg is on location right now, as it shows. This pictures from earlier this year, and this is him on set. And apparently, these are a couple of the stars of the new film that he's filming. At the time that this picture was taken, the working title of the movie is Disclosure, and it's changed a couple times. So now you have to ask yourself, who's still informing Steven Spielberg on what to do in this new film? Is it the new batch of people that we have come out for whistleblowers? Are they, did he tap in with them to get information on doing this film? Why does Spielberg feel like he needs to do it at this moment? Why at this time does he feel like he needs to tackle a UFO movie? And if there was a person to do it, it's definitely going to be Spielberg when we base it off of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. 50 years ago that movie came out, and it nailed every part of the phenomena, right? What would you expect from a 2026? This is supposed to be released next year. A 2026 film, Steven Spielberg, probably the last extraterrestrial movie he does, in a moment where Disclosure were on the cusp of it. The working title of the film is Disclosure, or was at some point. I feel personally, and maybe this will age bad. I'm a person that doesn't like dates, right? So but I'll make this prediction. I'll make this prediction that I feel like the movie that Spielberg is working on is going to end up being a vital part of the storytelling of where we are at and where this might take us. I think it's going to be that pivotal thing that maybe is the thing that links the people who have not been interested in UFOs, because it's going to be a blockbuster film, right? It's going to be a blockbuster film, and I just feel like that the mind that Steven Spielberg has, I think he's going to execute this in a way that helps what we're doing. That's just a guess. I could be wrong, but based on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I kind of feel like there's a good chance that that's the case. So I'm waiting to see what that is. We'll see what happens there. Also, we'll see what happens more with this UFO video Jeremy Corbell released. It seems like he's saying from the NBC interview I watched earlier that he's stating there's more to come on that. I still feel like Ross Coulthard still has whoever submitted the UFO, the egg retrieval video in the wings. I think things are going to ramp up here soon. I think things are going to ramp up big time. Corbell and Knapp have just shown that they have ammo in the back waiting for the next disinformation campaign to step forward, and they have something to combat it. So I have faith in that. Things are looking up right now for Disclosure. And on top of that, I had no clue. I did look into this. Jordan Peele is currently had been slated to release a film on December 25th of last year. Did not know this. The film at the time this article was written, I think I do have the article here. I'll read a couple things. I'll read this one here to you. So Jordan Peele's Nope follow up gets a 2024 release date from Universal. Obviously, this is 2025, 2024 is past. So listen to the article. It says it's currently unclear if the untitled film will have anything to do with the larger Nope universe. Interestingly, it's been given a mid-holidays rollout. So the 2020 in this article was put out. Let's see, what's the date on this? March 20th of 2023. So a little over 2 years ago, a year, almost a year after Nope was released, this article came out and said the 2024 holiday season just got a whole lot more cinematic. On Monday, per Variety, the world learned that Jordan Peele's next project had been given a December 25th, 2024 release date from Universal Pictures. Expectedly, no additional information on the film, billed only as untitled fourth film directed by Jordan Peele, has been publicly announced. On the similarly untitled front, a separate film from Peele's Monkey Paw Productions has been given a release date of September 27th of that same year. Peele's most recent film is last year's Nope, and also starred in the UAP entry, which Peele himself said was inspired by Spielberg classics like Close Encounters of the Third and Jurassic Park. While Peele has hinted that Nope universe could eventually be further explored, it's not yet clear if his 2024 film has anything to do with such plans. Complex has reached out for a rep for Peele for comment. The story may be updated. It says, speaking with Carla Rodriguez for Complex last summer, Peele reflected on how the in-person theatrical experience is central to the power of Nope, which practically demands repeat viewings. I like to think people like to watch my movies. Peele, who also wrote the film, said at the time. So I think after they have seen it, you like go and feel that feeling of the audience's reactions again. There's also layers baked into it, and people can feel that. Other films confirmed to be on the Universal's current 2024 slate include Twister sequel titled Twisters, the feature film take on Swim Short, and more. So we know some of those movies have definitely come out. We know we this is official. This was officially a release from the movie studio, who confirmed that Jordan Peele was supposedly having two movies set for 2024 to come out, which they obviously haven't. So you have to ask yourself if this is something that we could expect anytime this year, or is he going to line it up with Spielberg? What are we going to get? Are we getting a Note too soon? And maybe he just drops it on us and we're totally unaware. If so, I can't wait to see what he adds to it because of what we've talked about so far. The tie-ins to some of the more obscure theories of what the extraterrestrial presence is, and then now taking those elements and going further with it may also open up a part of the story that we are just not privy to yet. Very exciting future for ufology here and where this might go. And our whole idea of what we're dealing with and what we're doing here might shift in the next year based on just these releases, the two movies themselves. And then if something else comes out, Ross Coulthard, Corbell, I think it's going to be an epic next 12 months. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But with that being said, that's kind of where I wanted to end the Note part of this. I think we kind of painted and tied dots together to kind of, understand that there might be a whole nother element here. And this is something we'll wait and see and maybe do another show about once we get more information. But there was also, when we talk about things or craft in the sky or just weird things that might be moving through the clouds, right? Because even with that UFO video, the one Corbell just released, definitely seems kind of lifelike too, as far as the fluid motion, right? Also seems to depict something live, maybe, and maybe that's the direction that conversation will go. We'll have to wait and see. But there was this that always compelled me back in 20. Oh, what was this? 20. I think this was released maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but it was over the AGNC. This is New York Post releases. It was like a 50-second video of someone that took this image out the window of whatever the world this is, rotating and moving, partially covered in cloud, and then it kind of just broke up and dissipated. But it was a solid, structured something, as you'll be able to see. You'll see it kind of moving and doing its thing, and then it kind of dissipated. So I wanted to show this real quick because I thought every time I see this, it still blows my mind. There's no explanation that I've seen that makes sense for what in the world this is. But I want to make sure we show it on the show as we're talking about weird things that could be maybe alive in these clouds, and who knows what's up there. But let's take a look. What is that? So I think you guys can still hear me, but as that thing is twisting, and I have it, it'll loop a few times here, but I just kind of wanted to sink in. The video goes so fast. But what in the world is that? Is it potentially whatever the thing Corbell was showing? Possibly. It's weird, and it's not anything that is explainable at the least, and it's moving in a way that seems to be controlled and then kind of just breaks up. So what is the break up? Is that somebody fill in the blank there? I don't know. I wouldn't even be able to say, but it's if you were on a plane, you looked out your window and you saw that, what in the world are you thinking at that moment? What are you thinking if you look out the window and see that? And the whole one of the things about it, right? It seems to once it starts stretching out or whatever it's doing, I don't know what you would call that, but it seems to be a lot smaller, more compact, more formed as far as shape goes, and then turns into whatever this is. I don't know what that would be depicting, but very, very strange. Very, very strange. I think it plays one more time here. I'll go ahead and I don't know if I can come in here. Let me see. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so that, whatever that thing is, very weird. If somebody knows what that is, please let me know because I don't know. I don't know where to go with that. But I definitely want to make sure that we showed that because I think it just also ties into what we're talking about here today. So, with that being said, let me see what else I have. I think that no, I do have one more thing. I do have one more thing here I want to show. So that's weird. That's up there in the clouds, whatever that is. No one here can explain it. It's up there. Could it be the thing that Corbell shows in that video? I don't know. But there was, and I don't know if this video that I'm about to show you, this is just a more zoomed in of what that thing is, whatever it is. And then I have, okay, so let me show you something here. I'm not going to say this is real. I'm not sure if this is or not. It was compelling though when I saw it. I'll let you make the determination. I'll just say it's a weird video, and let somebody who really knows how to break down a real video take it through the processes to see what they think about it. But it's weird, and it kind of ties into this. So let me make sure we're sharing it here, and then we'll leave you with this before we get up out of here. Let me see. All right. All right. Let me bring it back up here, and I'm going to have to start it from the beginning. I don't know why people take their videos in portrait mode. U.F.O videos in portrait mode do not work well. Please don't do that if you have the chance. But look at this. If you're able to see this as much as we can zoom in, it's just weird. Is it real? I don't know. I can't say. But watch as they zoom into it. Watch how it moves. They say they first thought it was like a paper bag or plastic bag, and we'll go ahead and read it to you actually as we watch it. So, could this be the real life video that inspired? No. If you haven't watched Jordan Peele's Nova yet, we highly recommend it.
I've never seen no shit like
Back
that.
in 2015, Hector Garcia looked up from the streets of Philadelphia, saw something strange. At first glance, one could say it looks like a plastic grocery bag dancing in the wind, but look closer and it becomes clear that this is no grocery bag. Those of you who have seen Nope understand why this video is so interesting. Something very similar happens in this film. In Garcia's capture, the cloud contains twinkling lights. If you can watch closer, I don't know how big your screen is. This contains twinkling lights. If you're capable of zooming in, you can see tiny little electric charges flickering throughout the nebulous mass. Whether Peele saw this footage and was inspired by it or not is only speculation, but considering this video is 7 years old, it is being seen millions of people. We have to wonder if the director knows it exists. For skeptics out there, yes, it could be a camera trick or a prop. Garcia's reaction and the size of the anomaly have convinced us that whatever he saw, and actually, let me try to make sure we go back. I want to make sure we get the full experience. So I'll pause it there. Let me finish the article here. Let's see. For skeptics out there, yes, this could be a camera trick or a prop. Garcia's reaction and the size of the anomaly have us convinced that whatever this is, it's the very meaning of a U.F.O. So, we'll watch this video again. I'll leave that with you so you guys can just think about it, figure out what it is. Like I said, maybe send it to someone or find out if someone has already taken it through the paces to figure out if this is authentic or not. But if you have a big enough screen, you will see once that thing gets closer. It does look like a plastic bag, like a saran wrap, sort of like a vegetable bag kind of floating in the air. And as it gets closer to the screen, to the camera, if you look closely, you will see these like little flickering electrical lights on the inside of this. And is this like jellyfish UAP potentially?
It's a fucking cloud with lights in it.
You know, the same type of object.
Moving weird. I've never seen.
And when you talk about jellyfish UAP, right? Things that are made alive in the upper atmosphere. If it starts going down that path, I think we're in a whole new game here.
Sparkly lights in it. I've never seen no shit like that. Moving weird.
Once again, I'll let this finish playing and then we'll talk about it here. We have about 30 seconds left.
No, you see them
Definitely not the
sparkling
choir.
lights in it. Never seen no shit like this in my life.
All right, that's about where the video stops. So let me go ahead and stop sharing that. Get us back up here on the screen. All right, so with that being said, what do you guys think? What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? And I don't know if prior to the show you thought about or even heard about the theories of things in the upper atmosphere being alive. How does that make you feel? Do you feel there's a possibility that part of what we're dealing with here could shift and go down that path? If so, if so, and we'll be, I'm sure, probably 6 months down the line from now, we'll be able to say one way or the other, if this seems to progress more down that path, and kind of lines up with some of the cryptic statements that are being made, like within Congress and through people with NDAs that can only say certain things, right? And some of the things that haven't been adding up in the past, where it's like, okay, why did they say that? Or why is it taking the shift? If you remember, like a year or so ago, it took a spirituality shift. It went from nuts and bolts extreme level to them all considering spirituality. Like that happened overnight. Remember, I had questions about that when it happened. I'm like, why? Why all of a sudden is it taking this, even entertaining that part of it right now when we're still at the nuts and bolts level, just confirming that these things are here? How are they already taking the shift into spirituality? I know you guys will recall we've talked about that. And it's like, if it has anything to do with this, if this, there's any credence here, then it would make sense. And then some of the, you can probably at that point go back and listen to some of the other breadcrumbs or nuggets that were left, or rewatch some of the old press conferences, or interviews where someone was talking but speaking between the lines, and it might make more sense then. It's a scary proposition. It is. Either way, if it's just nuts and bolts with extraterrestrials inside of it, or if it's a little bit of both. If we have something that's full time living in the upper atmosphere, and then also things visiting from somewhere else, because it would make sense why we're seeing things like jellyfish UAP. Like, how does that tie into extraterrestrials traveling here from another planet? It doesn't make sense. But something living in the upper atmosphere, some sort of plasma sort of thing, would make sense and it would fit that bill. So are we having both going on? And mind blowing, mind blowing. I'll kind of leave it there, let you guys kind of stew on that, think about it, and we'll see where it goes, right? That's what we're doing this for. I thought this would be fun to do this and kind of at least talk about it while it's still fresh, and then kind of throw some intriguing things in there. But then we'll see where the video goes as far as being vetted. If it gets vetted out and it's like, okay, it's debunked, well, we're back to square one, right? But if it's confirmed and they move forward with it and we get more information on it, we might be, when we talk about paradigm shift, it might be a bigger paradigm shift than we ever thought we would be facing. So, with that being said, awesome show today. Glad everybody came out for this. This is the definitive UFO news show here with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Glad that we could do this, and we'll do this again. And let me go ahead and make sure. I want to play this again, just to kind of end the show. The differences, or the similarities rather, between Corbell Military Video 2020, and I'll talk over this as we get ready to go. I want to thank everybody for coming on out, opening your mind, and sitting down and having this conversation. And I know you guys had a great chat in the chat. So I want to thank everybody that did come on out, and anyone who's watching this on Team Replay. We do this show often. So if you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button, the notification bell for next time we go live. We have great shows. We also have the late night calling show, which we do occasionally here. Tough conversations sometimes. If you were here last night or the night before, you know what we do. It's a show for you to call in, which is why that phone number is very important. And actually, let me make sure that we put that back up too before we go. 856-843-3444, or that's 856 the dig. Write it down, put it in your phones. Awesome time, awesome stuff. Anything else you guys want to see on this channel, let me know. You can email me at booksocialshow@gmail.com. That'd be the best one. Booksocialshow. Give me some ideas. What do you want to talk about? It's all about what you guys want to get into, and I'm open to doing that. Right? This is a channel where we are humanity focused. Has to be a conversation that moves the needle. Keep that in mind. Outside of that, yeah, we can do anything you guys want to do. So let me go ahead and see if anybody had anything to say here. Usually when I'm on these presentations, it's more of a not a back and forth sort of situation, but just let me see if anybody, I don't want to miss anyone in case they did. Let me see. Oh, it said video volume. Oh, okay. Let me see. I wasn't hearing the video audio, so that was I was worried about that because I thought the video audio was it's not playing on my end, guys. So for whatever reason, it played on your end, but it was not playing over here. I thought it was muted. So hopefully you didn't miss too much of what I was saying there. All right, do see a comment here. Let me see. Individuals are unpredictable, so the government has to constantly reevaluate their approach on this situation. I'm telling you. Let me see. Yeah, Magneticus reading the chat 5 minutes ago because you get to talking, and then all of a sudden you're behind on the chat. So I was sitting here wondering why the audio wasn't playing on some of these videos on my end because I knew they had audio, and okay, well, too late now. But it's this program. That's why I hate this program. But we're gonna make it work. Do appreciate everyone coming on in here tonight. Hope you got something from this, right? I hope for the most part you got to hear the show and the perspective, and I hope at least you walk away thinking how maybe this goes a whole nother way, just based on the details and the breadcrumbs that we actually have to look at. That hopefully this is something, not really hopefully, but maybe this is something that blossoms into something else that we just don't get, right? Whole nother part of the phenomenon to be concerned about, really. Outside of that, definitely want to thank everybody for coming on in. Make sure you share the show. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. Have a great rest of your night, guys. Spaced Out Radio will be on here in about an hour or so with, I think, Lee and Tim James. So make sure you guys are over there to watch that. I will see you on the After Hours radio show tomorrow. I believe our guest tomorrow is Victor Vigiani. We have a lot of, let me talk about that for a minute. We have a lot of great guests coming up over the next month or two on the After Hours radio show. Going to be a lot of great conversations. So make sure you're also over there for that. I promise you it's going to be epic. So with that being said, you guys have a great rest of your night. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Welcome to the Social Shop, courtesy of the Social Dig. I am Mr. Rob G, and we are bringing you exclusive gear, and tonight's no different. We have Humanity t-shirts, the positive progression of humanity. Yes, you can go out into the world and proudly show everyone what humanity means to you. $32.99, and remember, if you're a social soldier, you get an additional 20% off the price. That's right. Being a social soldier gets you an additional 20% off, And keep in mind, depending where you are in the world, shipping fees and taxes will be applied. Bringing you exclusive gear right here at the Social Shop on the Social Dig.